All right, welcome back to another episode of D2D Success Stories. Here today with Marshall Hawks. Welcome, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So, Marshall, I'll intro you just a touch, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, four-time Golden Door winner. 4 Golden Doors in 3 years. This last one being a double.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And then current record holder in the pest control industry, just did over 1.5, a bit over 1.5 in revenue, most retained revenue, most retained accounts. Anything else? Correct me. I know you had a laundry list of.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've had some big days, big weeks. I don't know what the record is.
Yeah. Huge summer. And then you were one of the owners at Fox. You guys had a cool exit there. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then currently launching this new thing with Ace Cooperatives.
Correct. Yep.
Sweet, dude. So with that as kind of the intro, let's just go back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about growing up, where you're from, all that type of thing.
Yeah, so I was actually born in New York, New York City. My dad was an artist, and he moved out there for his career. But we moved back when I was 5 or 6 years old. So I was pretty much raised here in Utah, Bountiful, Utah, just up north.
Nice. That's where my parents are from.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, my dad was like the first graduating class of Woods Cross.
Oh, okay.
And my mom was the second. So that's, yeah. Funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, yeah. So grew up playing football, ran track, did all the sports, That was my thing.
What'd you play in football?
I played running back and corner.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Fast guy.
Yeah. For high school. Not now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so, and then after high school, I ended up serving a mission.
Okay.
Went to Tokyo, Japan for 2 years.
That's cool.
And then, I came home, started working as a waiter, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to go to school for, was kind of just doing the generals, and was working as a waiter until eventually I got into the solar industry. That's where kind of my sales career started.
Sweet. How'd you like Tokyo, man? I never meet people who went to Tokyo.
Dude, you go to Tokyo, you're going to think you're on a different planet. Like,
Yeah.
it's so different. Like, I've been to South America, Europe, all that stuff. Like, Tokyo is just so out of this world.
Well, just the population density is crazy.
The density, the people, their culture, everything's so clean for how big of a city it is. It's just spotless.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
I vibe with that, honestly. I think like the Japanese are like high strung the same way that I am.
Yeah, there's no breaks for them.
Yeah.
They're just work.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. Did you guys, I always ask people this, did you knock doors on your mission, or was it like a street contacting mission, or?
We didn't knock doors a whole lot. It was mostly like standing at the train station.
Yeah.
We would actually kind of leverage English class that we would teach on Wednesdays to get people into the church building and stuff like that.
Definitely a lot of like finding activities, though. I mean, you don't have a ton of like member help to just be in lessons all the time.
100%. Yeah, we would. Our favorite thing to do would get on the train and take it like 2 hours one direction and just sit next to people and spark conversation.
Wow.
And then take it back, because you could stay on the train as long as you wanted. As long as you didn't get out of the station, you could just go back and forth. So
That's funny. I'm imagining like putting that on your planner when you plan the next day. Ride the train up and down.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, a lot of finding activities though. Do you think that kind of played into the door-to-door stuff eventually, or?
Oh, it definitely got me more comfortable talking to people.
Yeah.
Like, I was in high school, I was kind of an introvert, kept to myself.
Okay.
Quiet, shy.
Yeah.
Still kind of am. Like, you don't ever change some of that.
Yeah.
But it was helpful. In fact, I was talking to a guy today about how during my mission, I would talk to people on the phone, like members, and they knew I was American because of my accent. So I made it a goal to kind of get rid of that accent and start to sound more and more native. And that taught me how to like how to use tones and how to like be a sponge. So when I got into door to door, it was easy to copy people and like how they said something, the tone, the speed, the volume, and just be like a copy paste
Because in your native language, you don't think about that. You have to think in a very on purpose way if it's second language
100%.
about how you talk and how you sound. Yeah, that's interesting. That's funny. So, okay. And then you get back, like you said, you're a waiter. I mean, that's a little bit kind of good experience for door to door too. Maybe. I don't know. I thought
talking
it
to
was.
people.
Yeah. Where'd you work?
I worked at Temple Square, the Garden Restaurant.
Is that a nice one?
That's decent, nice. It's not the roof. The roof's right across.
Yeah, that's what I'm probably thinking of. Yeah, I worked at Buca di Beppo and I worked at Cafe Sabor.
Okay.
Did a lot of restaurants.
I've never heard of Buca di
Buca. They just closed them all in Utah. It's kind of sad for me actually, but it was like it's like Italian.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. And then where were you going to school at?
I was going to Weber at that time.
Weber.
Yeah. I ended up transferring up to Utah State where I finished. But yeah, I was going to Weber.
Cool. All right. And then, like you said, you get into solar. You're what, 21, 22 years old?
21. Yep.
Okay. How's that come about? Somebody recruit you, or do you just apply, or what?
So I actually got talked into being part of like one of those multi-level marketing schemes, right? And my buddy, close family friend, is extremely successful at it. But I met a guy at one of the network meetings, and he was doing solar. So he was doing solar and network marketing. Yeah. He's like, hey, dude, you should come out. Like, it's here in Utah. You can continue to do your school stuff. We're flexible on hours, and you're just going to be a setter. Mm-hmm. And it's $16 base pay. Plus, if they sit down and it goes through, you get a kickback. And I was making like $14 an hour as a waiter. So I was like, oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, made like 20 grand the first summer, working away as much as I could.
Okay.
And then finally I was like, I'm done with this.
Were you good at it?
Yeah, I was setting like 8 to 10 appointments a day. But I was making 16 an hour, and all my constituents were making 16 an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm setting 8 to 10 appointments a day, and they're setting 1 to 2.
It's one of those things that, there was a lot of little solar companies paying hourly through those years. A lot of my competitor window companies, at least a few years ago, I think a lot of them have learned now, were paying hourly. But it's this weird thing. It's like, I've talked to some of those company owners and executives, like, well, to be able to really bring in headcount, you have to offer an hourly. And it's like, the ones who are so worried about it, maybe it's because they aren't going to sell anything. Alternatively, somebody like you who is selling something, you would have made more on the commission structure
100%
that a non-hourly solar company would have offered. So, I mean, I just don't know how you win if you're the hourly solar company,
Yeah, I don't know as a company, but you win as a rep if you're the lower performer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you suffer so they finally switched the pay scale. They changed it to like $125 if they sat, regardless of whether or not the appointment closed. If they sat and you got a power bill, you'd make $125. I started making 3-4 times as much a day.
Second, that's the second evolution. That's not the Charizard. That's the Charmeleon. I think the Charizard is when you get paid if it closes.
Yeah, you
personally,
split the commission.
That's my own. Yeah, that's my own little take. Because then you start getting all the weird stuff like, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I get paid if you do the appointment, so will you please,
Yeah, well, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, sounds like you were doing it right regardless.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So 20 G's that first summer you said?
Yep.
And this is local to Utah?
I was here in Utah.
Nice. Yep. Nice. Okay, what happens next?
So that was 2016, 2017. I became a closer at the company. Mm-hmm. Started closing deals. It was different than a lot of solar companies today because they didn't really like all my coworkers were in their mid 30s or like early 30s to like early 40s.
Interesting.
So I'm 22, and it was because I worked for a company that does a lot of commercial as well, mm-hmm. and so they didn't really have like the young door-to-door solar closers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where they had all these like 30s and 40s people from. Were these just like kind of like career in-home closers, like HVAC dudes and roofing dudes type of a thing?
Pretty much, yeah. It was like they had two options. You could be commission only or you could be base plus commission. So you'd had guys that used to be a teacher and stopped teaching, or guys who had done 5 or 6 years at Vivint and like got into solar and want to be more stable here in Utah. And so I did that. I realized quickly I bit off more than I could chew. Like the first 4 weeks, I was just grinding away. Didn't make a single sell for like the first 4 weeks.
Really? Why do you think that was, by the way?
I was trying to, I would say it was because I was trying to reinvent the wheel. Okay. And I hadn't yet realized, like, just go shadow the best guys. Yeah. So I started doing that, and then it started to click and started to snowball. Ended up making, I think, like 80 to 100 grand that first year, or first year as a closer. Nice. Did that again the next year, 2018, made, I don't know, 175 grand.
Now, are you working summers mostly at this point? Okay.
Just summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so that's real good money.
Yeah. I was going to school, transferred up to Utah State.
And again, still locally?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet gig, dude. A lot of kids who, travel someplace far about would love 80, 100 grand locally summer program. Sounds nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Second, third year. Now, are you like recruiting or
no?
Okay, so you already kind of got at this, but this isn't like a super conventional like door-to-door sales org.
No, not at all. Yeah, like they had just started the door-to-door setter program, and that was my first year. And I don't even know if they still do that. They just do a lot of like internet marketing, name recognition, website, like referrals, different stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. And so talk about, eventually getting into pest control.
Yeah, so 2019 I got into pest. That's when I moved up to Logan. Me and my buddy had a competition. He was doing pest and I was doing solar. And the year prior to me getting into pest, we had a competition. Whoever could make 100,000 the fastest, the other one would come in for a meeting. And so that summer he texted me at like, I don't know, end of May or early June. And he's like, hey dude, I already hit the 100,000. And I was like, how? Like, there's no way. Yeah. I think I'd made like 50, 60. And so that brought me in because I was like, there's no way this kid's better than me. Yeah. Like, just being a competitive sports player, I'm like, it's got to be pest control. That's why, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so, met with Fox, sat down, was really impressed with their culture. Met with a couple different companies. A lot of companies were kind of the same. Here's a hat, here's the swag, wine and dine ya. You're getting sold. But it was just very straightforward. They were asking about what are my goals in my life, not just telling me how much money I can make. Yeah. And I saw a little bit of a future there.
So resonated with your personality, you could say.
Yeah.
So I'm gathering you're a pretty plain-spoken, straightforward kind of person.
100%.
Yeah. Me too. So it's funny. Like I was talking about this with my last guest too. There is a thing in recruiting where, and it may sound like I'm saying like good this, bad that, but some of these things are actually just personality traits that are like neither right nor wrong. It's just you resonate with your people and they resonate with their people and
totally
whatever,
Yeah.
Cool. I'm interested too in the solar to pest switch in 2019 because I think more people do that now, but that was pretty uncommon back then. That's when solar was going nuts. Did you ever look around at other solar companies and think, no, solar is the thing, I just need to switch?
No, I didn't. I didn't think like, hey, I didn't think I was in a bad company. Like if I was going to stay in the industry, I would have probably just stayed with that company.
You were happy, yeah.
And I didn't realize like, maybe I could have actually made more if I had went out of state because of different power rates in different states and the net metering program. And Utah there's a lot of pushback with Rocky Mountain Power, and they were pretty early to, jump on that in a way and, change the net metering program. And it was just competitive. I mean, it's almost like pest control in Utah is not easy either. You know, like Utah gets knocked.
Right.
And so I was just like, well, let's go mix it up. A little bit of it was also just like, hey, let's break up the monotony. Like we'll try one summer. Worst case scenario, I'm out of college. I can come back. The solar thing's a year round. Like even though I had been doing it in the summertime, you know, I was like, oh, I could just come back and do solar if it doesn't work out.
Okay. Fair enough. So that first summer, how's it go for you?
Yeah, first summer we go out on a preseason blitz to Louisiana. And my goal was to do, I think, 600 accounts on the year. And my buddy sells, I think, like 52.
Pause real quick too. That's a pretty high goal for like first exposure to pest control. What are you basing that off of? Just like what he's able to do and you esteem yourself to be equal or better?
Yeah, I didn't know what kind of a goal to have. But I was like, okay, if I do 600, I'll make what I would have made in the solar space plus some.
Okay.
So that was kind of my thought process.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because I'm going to have to go knock doors and leave Utah. It's a sacrifice. I better make more than what I do here in Utah.
Okay.
So he sells like 52. I sell 37 that first week. And I'm like, whoa, this is actually like not that hard. Like it's pretty easy. Contract values, super cheap back in the day, you know.
That's something I was wondering about too. Like, do you think it gives you any kind of a leg up going from selling a really high ticket item to a low ticket item all of a sudden? Like maybe you just treat the pricing like it's nothing and super casually because it's small to you, or
100%. I think it has less to do with the price, of like not thinking it's a big deal to yourself, but more so like in solar, you can't just talk someone into getting a loan for 40, 50 grand.
Big decision.
You can't just like high pressure them into it.
Yeah.
Or like you can, but it's not going to get installed and you're not going to get paid on it.
Right.
You actually have to learn like high level sales skills, how to build value, how to, you know, overcome objections in the right way. And so I always say, like in pest control, there's a difference between signing someone up and selling someone.
Yeah.
You know, I can sign people up in pest control super easy, but it's a different story to sell them because that means they get serviced and they get retained.
Yeah.
And so I think that solar background did help me in pest control overcome the little objections you do deal with.
Yeah.
It was like
to actually sell them as opposed to just signing them up.
Yep, exactly.
Got you. That makes sense. So yeah, you start doing well. Preseason blitz. And by the way, I actually don't know a ton about Fox, but more conventionally scaled out door-to-door org.
Correct.
So
yes.
like maybe your first exposure to like a real door-to-door team. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. How'd you like that?
I liked it. I mean, it was weird because like my first exposure to door-to-door was like me and my buddy.
Yeah.
We went preseason and then we came back to Utah and then we went out for the summer and it was like me, him, and his twin brother. That's it. That was our apartment. That was our team.
Okay.
Like we were like this. Yeah, it was a tiny team of 3 people. So like my first exposure wasn't the traditional like morning correlation, weekly incentives, team dinner, all that stuff.
Probably a leg up in a way because it sounds like your buddy. What's his name, by the way?
Jerem.
Jerem. Sounds like Jerem's also a high performer, and he's who you're comparing yourself to. If you'd have been in a big office, there would have been 20 dudes doing 150 accounts that summer. Maybe you would have lowered your bar or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think he helped me achieve more and I helped him achieve more because we were both just like-minded.
Hitting hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so as you light it up initially, are you just like really loving pest control? Like, cool, this is what I do now? Or what are the vibes?
So the preseason blitz was fun. That was cool. Came back. I was like, okay. In fact, like 2 weeks into the preseason, all the different leaders in the company are hitting me up. And they're like, dude, you need to change your goal. Because Jerem's goal is to do 1,000 accounts. You need to also do 1,000 accounts. Like if he's going to do it, why can't you? You're right there with him. He did 52 and you did 37. Like, dude, just hang with him the whole summer.
Yep.
And I'm super thankful for that because they just raised my vision. And I didn't do the 600. I ended up doing the 1,200 that I finished with. And so having people in your corner that are that see your potential, even when you don't see your potential, I think is crucial.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I came home from the Blitz, and then we went back out come summertime. And I remember being in Kentucky, and this was before Segways or scooters. And so I'm like running door to door,
Yeah.
12 miles a day.
Yeah.
And I got such bad stress fractures in my feet
Wow.
that every night I would come home, ice my feet in a bucket of ice.
Yeah.
And it was just the most painful thing.
It's
Like
like
I just,
pro athlete recovery type stuff.
yeah, like if you've ever had stress fractures in your feet, it's like something I'd never dealt with before. But I was like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, why am I out here? Like, if I hadn't had the goal, thankfully they went away. Like, eventually they kind of went away.
Yeah.
But like that month of, I don't know what it was, May was just brutal.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy. Ooh, May too, man. Was there ever any thought in your head of I should just go home this summer?
Dude, I thought like if it doesn't get better, like how am I going to continue this? I've got 3 more months of this.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Felt like walking on Legos.
If it happens the last month, you're like, dude, I'll tough out a month. But at the beginning, it's like, ugh, how do I? When does the recovery happen?
Yeah.
Okay. So you tough it out. You're running door to door, and you've got this newfound goal for 1,000. How do you get good? I mean, did you have just great training, or somewhat self-taught, or what?
Yeah, I would say somewhat self-taught. Like I had different pitches from top reps in our company that I was able to kind of steal a piece from and take this, and I was able to use a lot of the same objections or a lot of the same closes and objection handling techniques I had in solar. Like, hey, we want to think about it or talk to the wife, or all that stuff. But also just like trying different things and experimenting and seeing like, oh, if this works, let's just keep doing it. So
You're pretty like systemized with your pitch kind of a person.
Yeah, I'm. Like I say the same thing every week, but like every interaction is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm at this point in my career, I'm not coming up with like
New
sayings or new phrases or anything like that. It's just like.
The only reason I ask is because you were talking earlier about being a little bit shy or whatever. Every now and then I'll recruit somebody who's like, well, I'm like an introvert or whatever, and they think that they might not be good at this because that's their personality. And basically what I always tell them is I'm just like, hey, I think you probably think there's more ad-libbing in this than there is. You actually have the same conversation over and over all day. And you're just dialing in how to do these little minute details in the conversation better. And as soon as I say that to them, they're like, oh, I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, yeah, your conversation's the same, but maybe your volume's a little different on one guy versus, an old sweet lady.
Yeah. But you're not like a stand-up comedian coming up with jokes or some crap. Like it's actually somewhat close-ended compared to that.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 1,200 first summer, Golden Door winner.
Correct.
How'd it feel?
That felt good. I mean, it's funny. It's like you sacrifice so much and you work so hard for 10 seconds of fame, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
So anyone who's like hasn't yet experienced that, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I'm with you. You did you start recruiting a lot, or?
Yeah, after that year, I mean, that kind of put me and Jerem on the map, recruiting 2 guys, both did over 1,000. Both did over 1,000 at the time. Like a $600 contract value was like unheard of.
Typical, or high.
Yeah, now it's like that's super low. So I think we were both like the first couple reps to do Golden Door with a $600 value. And this was before I think Golden Door was revenue. It was like you had to do 1,000 accounts. There was no revenue option or anything like that. So yeah, we started recruiting. That opened the door to get into ownership with Fox. Start opening a few branches.
Talk about that too, because I'm not super familiar with that program. Did you have to hit a minimum threshold of accounts and then they offer you that opportunity, or how's it work?
No, the first thing they look at is just the individual you are.
Okay.
Like they're not going to, it doesn't matter how many accounts you sell or how big your downline is. Like what kind of a person are you? Like, because that relationship's probably first.
Some of it is qualitative. They don't just have like a hard criteria that if you hit, you can do it or something.
Correct.
There's some feel and all that.
I think they're looking like they definitely wanted owners who had the capacity to sell at a high level. That way, if they had a bad recruiting year or something, you know,
they could claw out.
They could go, like the owner could go out and make up for it,
Yeah.
type of a deal. Make sure the branch stayed alive and everything else.
Yeah.
They also knew that, hey, if you don't have a high, you know, performance at least 1 or 2 summers, how are you going to train sales reps to have a high performance? How are you going to recruit talent? All of those things. So that was probably a quantitative measurement that they looked at, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you get into that. Do you have to buy in, or was it just kind of a sweat equity type of thing?
Yeah. So we were a 4-way partnership. So each of us just put up a quarter of the capital required to open the branch.
Cool. So you open a branch. We were saying before we started shooting, Pennsylvania and Maryland was where you guys were operating.
Correct. Yep.
And how do those 2-3 years running that go?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of new lessons learned and challenges and excitement. That first summer was really, really fun. We had a lot of guys that had worked with us before, a lot of new guys. We were the only company in that market for that period of time, and so we just crushed it.
Yeah.
Until eventually word got out. But yeah,
Go figure.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome. So you hit the ground running. You've probably got a nice little rookie class. You've gone and promoted. We're both Golden Door level reps. We're going to teach you how to be good at pest control.
Yep.
Whatever for a year.
Yeah.
Now, were you guys, pretty integrated with like back end ops as owners of a branch?
Yeah, I mean,
hiring techs and all the above.
Yeah, we had to know all of that. I mean, some of it was kind of put onto other leadership responsibilities. Like we hired, we were part of the interview process to hiring our branch manager, who we got really fortunate and chose an amazing branch manager.
Okay.
And he's one of the reasons why our branch had the success it had is because ops is just as important as the sales side, you
Agreed.
know. You can fill the bucket, but can you keep the water in the bucket, you know? And so we got really fortunate there. We hired a stud. Shout out to Jim Tarman. And so we were part of hiring. And then he would take over on hiring the actual technicians. And we would come to the meetings and sometimes, help. Our goal was really to just make sure that there was never contention between the ops and the sales.
Totally.
And kind of be the glue between the home office, the local ops team, and then the door-to-door summer program that came and went, you know.
How do you do that, by the way? Eliminate that contention, because that's a good point.
I think you have to just share the stressors that each person is under. So like if you're a technician, your stressor is like you want to be home, you're local, you have a family. So like if someone puts a stop on you at the very end of the day, that's frustrating. If you're a sales rep, you want to make sales. And you want the technician to just do the account, service the account at the highest quality. And so, explaining to the sales team the stressors that stress out the ops, and then vice versa.
Just so they can have empathy, basically, back and forth.
And bringing them together. Like you don't want them like to be spending too much time together. Otherwise, maybe the technicians know what the sales guys are making, and there's jealousy or whatever.
Right.
But bringing them together so it's not just like this unknown thing in the closet. That's the door-to-door sales team, and we're just out, servicing them.
Right. Makes sense. So talk about scaling from one branch to how many did you guys get up to?
Well, technically it was like 2 branches. I had like a satellite branch down in Hagerstown, but it was all under the same umbrella.
Yeah. Talk about all that. Just, I don't know, going from the first year to the third, fourth, the growth, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So year 1, I think we did like 3,800 accounts. We had a huge team. not that big of a team, but we had a decent sized team. I think we had 35 guys finish the summer. Year 2, all of those guys came back. And then we added to it. So I think year 2, we had like 60 sales reps.
So you re-signed 35 reps.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that went home or decided not to come back, but they had been in the space for a while and were exhausted of doing door-to-door. Their time had kind of come, but most of the reps came back for the second year.
Huge. So, I mean, they had a good experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if anyone on that team that first year could say they had a bad experience. That first year was like dream come true for everybody.
How do you think you made it so?
I think just integrating fun with the culture, but more importantly, like if guys are selling, guys are going to enjoy their experience.
Right.
So it's like guys aren't going out for door-to-door sales to have fun necessarily or get outside of Utah. That might be some of the reasons why, but like if they don't make money, they're not going to come back. If they don't make the money they wanted to, they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So like it was fun because me and Jerem were, these high-level sales reps that we managed the sales team. We weren't just the owners that you didn't get to see very often. We were super engaged, and all of our reps, I hope, felt that impact, and they all did substantially well that first year. And so a lot of them made, the money that they wanted to or money they'd never made before. So
it's funny. I love that you said it. It's funny how many times like somebody will say some weird thing. They'll be like, well, I don't want it to just be all about sales. I also want to have fun too. And it's like, yeah, but I'll tell you what's really not fun is going and working a long day and not making sales. That's super not fun.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
I don't know. It's a weird little paradox.
You get a dopamine rush. When you make a sale, you get a dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Any human does. And so it's just like that is what fun does anyways.
Well, and it kind of ties into the whole like being passionate about your career thing. Like there's probably not many people who are passionate about the actual like product of pest control. I'm not necessarily that passionate about windows, but I'm passionate about winning, and I take pride in being good at what I do. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So same thing. It's like, well, you get good at it, and then the what's the phrase? The passion the work precedes the, I don't know, whatever. Passion doesn't precede the work, it follows it. Ah, my guy. Thank you. The passion doesn't precede the work, it follows it.
Right? That's good.
Yeah. So Fox has this cool exit. 2023, you said, right?
Correct, yep.
Talk about that a little bit. You were saying it was great timing and all those things.
Yeah, I mean, no one really knew it was going to happen until it happened. So it's kind of a surprise to all the owners, other than Mike and Bryant, who are the founders of the company.
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of sit you down, you have a meeting, and they break you the good news.
Oh, so you guys didn't have to be part of the due diligence or anything? It was just done?
It was just done. Like, hey, we're going to be closing April 1st.
Oh, me personally, I think that's cool, dude. Due diligence sucks.
Yeah.
So
we got to know like all the fine little details of it and understand the complexities, and there's an earnout, and what do we need to do to get that, and what are we selling for, and how does that work out, and distribute to the different owners, and they basically kind of take off the golden handcuffs, as I refer to it, as like you're an owner and they're golden, but you are handcuffed to your business as long as you own it. And some days, your business is tough to run, and you got to show up because you don't work for yourself. You work for your employees, So
you guys, branch owners, there's an earnout, and is there some kind of, like how long is the earnout, or was it?
So that varies depending on, kind of the details of a transaction.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of pest control companies will sell, and there's like all these clawbacks, as they call it.
Right.
Right. So it's like, yeah, we're going to buy you for this much, but you've got to do X, Y, Z and A, B, C and EFG, with us, it was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Like if we hit a certain amount of revenue, within the 2023 year, which we knew we would hit as long as our summer sales program went out and performed a minimum number of accounts, then our EBITDA would also take care of itself. And so we went kind of business as usual. It's like we sold, but we're still going to go out. We're still going to go out and perform and make sure that we get the earn-out.
And it was just an earn-out, no mandatory reinvestment or anything like that?
Nope.
And you guys got your earn-out in full?
In full, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who get screwed on the earn-out. That's why I'm asking all these questions.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Sounds like y'all did a deal with a good entity.
Yeah, they're great, and they've treated us, amazing from start to finish. And the whole transaction. I think that comes back to relationships. Like, I don't have super deep relationships with the buyer, but the owners of Fox did. The founders did.
Yeah.
And so that kind of set the precedence for everything.
Nice. How's it feel? Just, I don't know, having something you built and then it's just kind of gone? Freeing or sad or both? Or
I would say it was a good time for me. I think it was different for each owner because like different owners were at a different time in that journey. For me, it felt, I don't know if I would say freeing, but it was like a relief.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've worked really hard and now I've seen the fruit of my labor, right? You make money in pest control with your profits and everything, but the majority of the money you make usually will come on the exit. So
Right. Well, because they're good accounts, recurring accounts, and stable, all that type of stuff. I know private equity buyers and all that type of stuff are big on cash flow now. A lot of them, for big stretch there, it was all just equity appreciation buys. So now they're all trying to shore up their books with stuff that cash flows, And then talk about, and this is kind of, probably like the biggest thing that our listeners are going to be interested in, but this last summer that just happened, which is post Fox exit. Just talk about what made you want to go do this and kind of how it all came together.
Yeah, I think all of it came back to like 2022.
Okay.
2022, I was an owner in Fox, and a rep of mine who I'm close friends with, he sat down with me and he's like, do you feel like you're better at door-to-door now, like 3 years into pest control, than you were your rookie year? And I was like, oh yeah, way better, dude. Like, I wouldn't have done 1,200. Like, if I knew what I knew now. He's like, how many do you think you would do? And I was like, 2,000, like not even a hesitation. And so that sparked all of it. And so when Fox sold and I took some time off to kind of soul search and figure out what's next in life, it just kept coming back to me like, I kind of want to just go touch my ceiling, not to compete or to prove others wrong or prove myself to the industry, but just really so that if I choose not to ever do door-to-door again, like I can walk away on good standing, and like just don't have any regrets. Because
to flesh this out a little more, you did a golden door in 2022, right?
Correct, yeah.
But not quite as big of one as you had done in 2019 or 20, whenever that was?
Yeah, because 2019 I was just a rep. So I did, I think 740K in revenue on those 1,200 accounts. 2022, I did Golden Door, but I was an owner, and so most days I didn't get on the doors till 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, I had all this stuff in the morning and in the afternoon, and then I was finally able to get out.
So this combo with this rep, you're thinking in your head, you're like, yeah, I'm totally a better salesman now than I was, but you don't feel like you have a metric to point to that proves it.
Yeah, because my plate's full of all this other stuff. So when Fox sells, your plate's just wiped clean.
Yeah.
And a lot of the owners thought I was crazy. They're like, dude, you just got like massive buyout, like
chill out.
You want to go sell again? Yeah. And I'm like, it's not for the money. I just like, I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's my playground.
For the love of the game.
Yeah. Like, I love and hate it, but I wanted to make sure I just didn't ever regret it. And so I went out with the goal. I think it was like September, October. I had decided officially that I wanted to service 2,000 accounts at a $1,000 contract value and do $2 million in rev.
Okay.
That was the original goal. That was the plan. And so we started kind of getting pieces in place to try to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what kind of prep goes into that? Like,
I am very like meticulous, and I'm OCD.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist, and so I was. We were in talks like, okay, so for this to happen, am I going to do it for Fox? Well, that's a little bit tricky because they have all these other sales teams they have to house and place in different markets. And they don't have a lot of like southern markets either. So if I want to get started, February, March and get like a little bit of a head start, that's gonna be challenging. So we looked at maybe marketing for Orkin or for Home Team.
Okay.
And Home Team is who bought Fox.
Okay.
So that kind of made the most sense. That's kind of almost like a give back.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're going to have our top sales guy come in. You guys can learn from him. He'll show you some door-to-door stuff.
Yep.
And so that's the path we went. But it wasn't easy.
So you're finding markets where you can sell in February, March. You're making sure that they're going to be able to absorb all your accounts. There's some real analysis going into this.
Oh, October, November, I probably spent 20, 30 hours a week mapping area. Like I mapped out like the entire state of South and North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like mapped out every little piece of area there was to knock. And then I ended up not knocking hardly any of it. So
Go figure.
yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, because I had Andy Holmes on here. I don't know if you know him from around. And he was talking about all the stuff he put into his I think it was his first Golden Door year, second, whatever it was. He's talking about, if I'm on a Segway, that reduces these many seconds between doors, which is another however many accounts by the end of, and he had like 10 things he went through. It was like, that adds 100 accounts, that adds 50 accounts.
Yeah.
At my rate of whatever per minute. And I was like, all right, this is next level analysis here,
Yeah. 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 I mean, I had every area and I would kind of categorize it from good, better, best. So best stuff's like new development, certain, home prices and above. I had all that mapped out, kind of like the path I would take. So, okay, we're going to knock here. And then after we're done knocking here, this will probably last us, 5 or 6 weeks or whatever. Then we can kind of move here and then move there. So we had this master plan kind of sorted out. And then when it came to the rubber hitting the road, there was it was a lot of challenges. I mean, it was nobody's fault. It was just trying to fit 2 puzzle pieces. So working with an operator that has never really done traditional door-to-door.
Oh, yeah.
And me, who's a high-level sales rep who knows traditional door-to-door.
Yeah, because I'm not in pest control, but, I mean, you've got to have techs ready to go do the initials. I mean, ideally walk in if you can, especially if you're trying to do what you're trying to do.
That wasn't too much of an issue. So I actually had to get licensed in North and South Carolina.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird because, like, door-to-door companies send reps out all the time and they don't get licensed.
Yeah.
But when you're working for a big company, that's a liability. And so they did have us get licensed. I had to go through driving school to like get a truck. Like they gave me a personal truck with the Home Team brand.
Yeah.
But the challenges were like, they're accustomed to selling their service they're kind of like almost like the Walmart of pest control.
Right.
Like, they don't sell super high.
Yeah.
But they also don't sell it super low.
Making their money on volume.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm coming in thinking, okay, I want to go do $2 million in revenue. Like if a person's willing to sign a contract for $60 a month, $65 a month,
that's my business.
Then awesome.
Yeah.
Well, not so much the case, right? Because if you've got, understandably, they have a lot of other accounts at lower prices, and so that can kind of cause concern for an operator.
Yep.
That has all their accounts at $45 a month or $40 a month, and now you just signed up the neighbor in between those accounts for $65.
Totally.
Right? People talk, Facebook page.
Yep.
Is that going to be a long-term, account if you sell it for that high? Like, will they actually stay on for that long? And then they have their inside sales program, which caused challenges because they have their inside sales team that goes out and knocks all the new build and does the flyers and sticks the thing on the side of the house. And
got you.
And so that kind of caused some issues.
Yeah.
That we ended up going back and selling for Fox later in the year. Yeah.
Okay, so you're calling shots on the fly just to have a place to go keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. But this whole time you're crushing it. Okay. Like what's like a big week this summer?
Well, so when I was selling for Home Team, and then when I went back and was selling for Fox, because my contract value varied a little bit. So I was at a 660 contract in South and North Carolina.
Yep.
Partially because I couldn't sell it above like $50 a month.
Yeah.
So I was selling 40 a week, 40, 45, whatever that is, times maybe 650 average.
Uh-huh.
Then I go to Fox up in DC, and I'm selling about 37 to 38 a week. That was a tough market. I mean, I've knocked in a lot of different markets. No one was challenging.
Yeah.
So I think I was selling about $30K a week in revenue. And then when I finally broke off and we went to a different market, started hitting my normal stride, the stride that I'm familiar with, and started doing about $60K a week in revenue for whatever the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So
huge. Okay. So, I mean, you just had to get some of the early little hiccups out of the way before you hit your stride.
Yeah.
And then, as it gets towards the end, you're closing in on 1.5, I should say. I don't want to act like 1.5 isn't huge. When did you have to compromise on the $2 million?
Like May 1st. I knew I wouldn't get the $2 million by the time I wanted the $2 million. So my goal was to do $2 million by October 1st. And I knew mathematically, like unless I just became Superman and started closing like 75, 80 a week, there was no way of getting there.
So during logistics, you changed it to 1.5.
Yeah, actually last year, April came, and for the first time in my life, I wrestled with the idea of like quitting. I guess we talked about May and the stress fractures.
Yeah.
That didn't last very long, and that didn't get too serious because I'm not I've never really quit on anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, most top performers don't ever do that.
Right.
But I was like, gosh, I'm not going to hit my goal. Like I'm too far behind schedule. Things haven't went according to planned. All these obstacles have come up and having to navigate these new relationships. And now I've jumped from Home Team to Fox. Like, is this worth it? Like, what am I doing this for? I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing it for me.
The inspiring thing that got me out of bed was XYZ high number.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm doing this to just touch my ceiling. And so I actually made the decision that I'm just gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
Like I'm good enough that I'll still sell plenty. I'll make plenty of money and I'll have fun with it. And my brother's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. I will stick it out until he comes out and I'll help him hit his stride and then we'll see where I'm at. And so he comes out, he starts kicking butt. Like within 2-3 days, he's a rookie, selling 4 or 5 a day. And now we've moved markets and I'm back to my normal groove. I'm having fun. The stress is off. I've kind of just said, you know what, we'll let the dust settle where it settles. And I had good people in my corner again. Thomas, who's my business partner now, he's like, dude, just go get Golden Door. You're like 2 weeks away from it. Just go get Golden Door. So I get Golden Door. And then I'm still selling at a good pace. And he's like, we're like, maybe I just do $1 million. Like I've never done that. No one's done that with super, super high retention. So if I can go do $1 million with like 90% retention, that'll be a record. And I've always just had high retention from being an owner and the solar background and all that stuff I think has helped. And so it kind of just kept push the goalpost out. And to your question, it went from, well, just get Golden Door to, well, just get $1 million to, well, let's get double Golden Door. And by the time I got double Golden Door, I was kind of sick of pushing the goalpost out. I was like, all right, I'm happy with it. I'm pretty happy with that. So I came back to Utah.
Nice.
And then 2 days into being back, my buddy called me and he's like, dude, you're so close. Like, why don't you just go get the record? And I was like, I don't really care for the record. Like, I'm not doing this for, he's like, but dude, come out. And he made a really good point. Carver Child, super thankful to have him in my corner. For about 8 to 10 weeks leading up to that point, I had been living alone during this, which if you've ever been out of state in a hotel on your own for an extended period of time, you start to lose your sanity.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, come out. Like, we're buddies. You can live with me. There's a pool at the top of the apartment complex. The area is great. And like, just be out here for me. Come help me. Like, I know you're going to rub off on me positively.
I'm sorry, this is in Utah or where?
So I'm in Utah. He calls me. He's out in Nevada.
Got you. Okay.
So he talks me into going in, like, after 2 days of coming home.
To Vegas?
To Reno.
Reno, okay.
Yep.
I actually sold pest control in Vegas once. That's my only pest control experience. It wasn't fun. We didn't love it.
Oh, but it was hot.
Yeah, it was very hot.
Yeah, Reno's not too hot.
Yeah. Cool. So you go out there, breath of fresh air with your friends, and just doing it for the love of the game, I guess, again.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, yeah, if we get it, cool. If we'll see how the area is, and we'll play it a week at a time. Reno's so close, like, we'll play it a week at a time.
Dude, by the way, I've heard all kinds of different paradigms that people have about these summer goals, right? I guess their summer goal, even just like daily leaderboards, like some people, it helps them to watch it all the time. Mm-hmm. Some people, it's kind of the opposite. It's like, I can't carry that with me every moment. It's a little too heavy. Yeah. I just have to let it unfold, which is what it sounds like wound up happening for you this summer, is you just kind of let it unfold.
Totally. I mean, it happened my first year too. My goal was kind of 600, but never really done pest control before. So we'll kind of just like aim for that, but I'm not going to die for that.
Yeah.
And then, I'm doing good. Well, let's try to go do 1,000. And then, let's just do 1,200. We're already on pace to do 1,000. Why not do a little bit more? We're going to go home 2 weeks before the end of the summer because we haven't got it or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. So for me, yeah, like, I don't know, like, I don't go out every day with a goal of like, I'm going to go sell X amount of accounts. Mm-hmm. There is something in the back of my mind that's like, okay, to stay on pace, I need to probably do around 10. Mm-hmm. And I have a weekly goal. I think weekly goals are kind of healthy, you know, because you can kind of measure that, and there's more ups and downs on a daily basis, but a week kind of shakes it out.
Longer time frame, less variance, evens out.
100%, yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny how many different like little paradigms people have, and I'm sure it's a personality thing. So Reno, I'm guessing it went well. I'm guessing that's the end of the story.
Yeah, I did 186 in 3 weeks. Called it good. Came home.
By the way, were you posting a bunch of stuff on Instagram throughout the summer?
Not a lot. That's the other thing is like, for me, some people have to like go out and vocalize it for the accountability, which to each their own. Like, that's what you need, go do it. For me, I'm like, I'll show you kind of after the fact. Yeah,
because there's a lot of people in the pest industry, lots of door-to-door stuff. You can kind of follow along with their stuff on Insta, their own, or like Sam Taggart or somebody will repost it or whatever. Throughout and at the finish line, I guess, I remember yours getting reposted at the end, and it was just like stealthy. It was like, this dude's been in the lab for 6 months. None of us knew it. Boom, here's the record. It's like, was that kind of on purpose or just what clicks in your brain?
Yes and no. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't like pressure, but I don't like unnecessary pressure. Yeah. So I put enough pressure on myself to go out and perform. Yeah. Why would I want extra pressure? Mm-hmm. Like, why would I want societal pressure where people are like, hey, dude, like, what are you at now? What are you at now? What are you at now? Mm-hmm. Like, if I tell everybody, like, what I'm going for, and I decide to quit and go home in April because it feels good with me. And like I've hit my ceiling and I'm happy with where I'm at and I move on to something else in life. That's my choice, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to be locked in.
But like if you're super vocal about it and it doesn't work out, then you kind of look like, you know, you failed, or you look like people see on social media the highlights, but they don't talk about the lowlights. And you know, so I just try to kind of keep it to a minimum. Like I'll talk about highlights and some lowlights, but rather just be.
You know what happens to me, just to illustrate kind of the personality angle here. I will get down and sad, and I'll start talking really aggressive noise to jazz myself up, and then I'll go follow through on it.
Yeah.
Just as like a different angle that sounds like that's not you. But just goes to show people have different kind of approaches to like the motivation or the mindset part of it, you know?
Yeah. For me, it was like, so let's talk about 1.3 and coming home at 1.3, because I'd already like scratched the 2 million. And now I was just knocking to like get 1.3, but also I was like open. I was open to doing 1.5, but also I was like, I don't really care that bad. It was like I was out those final, like there was highlights and lowlights of the entire journey. When I'm selling 60 a week and I'm crushing it and I'm with my buddies or my little brother and we're having fun, like that was awesome. But when I'm alone in a hotel, you know, clear away from family and friends, and now I'm not selling super good, you know, we're re-knocking and things have kind of slowed down a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. I think my anxiety and my desire to perform to the standard I know I'm capable of, when I'm not performing to that, it like eats me inside. And it's like I'm not a happy person, and it's very hard to break out of that unless I change my circumstance. And so there was one day where I went up to a door, and it just like the whole world almost felt like dark. I wasn't depressed. It just felt dark. Like I wasn't happy. Yeah. And I was like, dude, what am I doing? Am I really like, is this worth it to me to be in this state of mind for what? Like, all right. And I wasn't planning on packing my bags that day and going home, but I was like, yeah, I think there's a point where your mental health, your sanity, your balance, all of that, like sacrifice it to an extent. But for the first time, I think I had met that extent. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? No, we're good. I'm not willing to go that far. So
smart. So, talk about your new chapter here with the ACE Cooperatives thing and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah. So I partnered with Thomas Lundberg. He used to be an owner at Fox. And we now run a marketing company that we mainly go after experience level reps. They can be first year, but we just want them to be legit. And we cooperate. Thomas runs Sellify, does AI sales for different companies and different operators in the pest control space. So we leverage that. We use that network of operators that we know and have relationships with to go search out the best markets and the best deals to then go house the sales reps that we work with. So
how would you say it? How would you say what you guys are trying to do fits in the market compared to, maybe other marketing companies?
Yeah, I think the traditional approach is like go get a big team and go put them in whatever market is available. But some markets are better than others. Yeah. And it's not talked about because, it can get in people's head. But like the market you go knock in absolutely matters. And so we're kind of a lean and mean. Like we'd rather have fewer reps and smaller teams and be more strategic and go find, good markets that are smaller to mid-size and put those reps, just really looking at the experience of the sales rep rather than the outcome of the company. Right? Because if you just do numbers, then your reps start to just become another number.
So you're really focused on, I guess you could say, the service that you offer to the reps who market with you.
Exactly. So we offer niche, less competitive markets. But we offer quick pay. so that's always kind of the thing about pest control is like, oh, you have to wait for this back end to come in. We don't really do a back end traditional model. Our reps get paid really quick. They get paid high commissions, and then we're able to sell high contracts by being kind of creative on what type of packages we can sell on the doors.
Love it. Cool, man. So if our listeners want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
Just on Instagram. So it's M Marshall H.
All right.
Kind of complicated.
Yeah. Cool, dude. Well, thanks for coming on.
Totally, man. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.